Welcome to the Women in Wellness podcast,
where we believe that the world can be changed one woman at a time.
Your journey to becoming more present, healthy, and joyous starts right now.
Okay, Dr. Mindy Pels here with Dr. Caitlin Sazowski, and we are missing our beloved Dr. Sonia, who is down vacationing in Mexico, so we actually don't feel too bad for her. You are not at all. And hopefully you already know that you're listening to the Women in Wellness podcast. And I'm pretty excited about this topic today because I think it's one of those things that is affecting people so adversely and they have no idea. They have no idea. Like, nobody ever thinks that their laundry detergent could be the reason they're not losing weight. And, you know, when you first hear that, you're like, well, that's stupid. How could that be? But when, Dr. Caitlin and I just sat here for a couple of minutes and went through and came up with 13 different areas in your house that are giving off toxins. And if you don't change them, will eventually affect your health. So our plan today is to go through those 13 items and give you guys some really concrete ways to change them or make you aware of them, tell you our favorite products, and have a really good discussion about it. So before I get into the 13, anything you want to say about this toxic topic, Dr. Caitlin?
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy because truthfully, I've been very interested in trying to minimize both mine, my husband's, my dog's toxic load. And it's just crazy because you try to like get the most natural things. And it can turn out though that what you're using is actually very damaging to either hormones or whatever it may be. And just a little story. So we're hoping to have kids soon. And I was going through, because we're going to talk about an app that we both love and use on a regular basis that makes it much easier to buy cleaning products and beauty products and just you name it. But I was going through our stuff scanning, and I was scanning my husband's like styling mousse kind of thingy. And it came back that it was a 9 out of 10, and that's bad. Okay, that's really bad. Like, you want less than 3.
Out of his hands?
Oh my! I threw it out. He the next day goes, "Where's my stuff?" And I'm like, it causes infertility issues, so that's in the trash. But it's absolutely crazy, and never would you think that like your styling hair stuff could cause such problems with hormones and possible infertility or really bad menstrual cycles or whatever, weight loss resistance, you name it. So I'm super excited to, bring light to some of these things that most people probably don't ever think about.
Yeah.
So what do you want to start with?
Okay, so let's start with, actually, you know what, before I start into it, you know what you made me think of is that you and I both have dogs that got cancer. And we did the same thing where I was like, how did my dog get cancer? And I realized, oh my God, it's in my household environment that the dog was licking and it triggered a gene, and our dog was a Rottweiler, and then boom, she ended up getting cancer. And that made me look at my internal environment so much different. So
I know. And it was sad. My Great Dane got fibrosarcoma. So that's not a common cancer for Great Danes. Osteosarc is common, but for a 3-year-old Dane to get cancer, the vets for a month couldn't figure out what was going on. And it wasn't until I pushed that they biopsied that they're like, yeah, she has aggressive cancer. And I was like, what? I'm like, how did this even happen? Because she eats organic, grain-free. I did have her on the best kibble before the cancer. Then I switched her to 100% organic raw. And doing that, I was able to keep her alive, healthy for a cancer survivor for 16 months instead of 8 months. But, if I would have known half of this stuff before, I probably wouldn't have ended up in the situation with a really sick dog.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like I can't emphasize enough to people that your dog is, and our vet told us, your dog licks the ground, your dog licks your couch, the dog licks your backyard. Like, So look around your environment and see where those chemicals are.
Their
And
dog
what was right? Yeah, like, and what was shocking to me was like, oh my God, and my kids are sitting on that couch, and my kids are playing in that yard. Well, so if that happened to the dog, what's happening to them? And it's mind-boggling. So let's start. The first one is household cleaners. Let's start with cleaners.
Okay, so cleaners. I try and use Dr. Bronemeyer for everything if I can. And the reason I like to use them is they're extremely clean. Like there's almost nothing in it. And when I first switched it over, so this is our soap, like our sink soap for washing dishes and cups and all that kind of stuff. My husband was complaining that it's not sudsy enough, so it's not getting clean enough. That's not true. I made it a little more potent last time because all you do is you dilute it a little bit with water. You don't need much, and it's amazing. Like there's no smell, which is fantastic because I hate those like artificial smells kind of thing. So we love that for our dish stuff. But then the thing that I use for my household cleaner for like my Windex, because I don't use Windex, I use Thieves actually. So I use the Thieves household cleaner. So Thieves is from Young Living, but you can also get like doTERRA's On Guard, and you dilute it down into like glass spray bottles, which is what I do. And you can make different potencies. So if you want like glass cleaner, I'll add a little bit of vinegar and no streaks, no chemicals, no nothing. If I want heavy duty stains, so like the dog has an accident on my rug, then I add more to this, just to get rid of it. So that's pretty much what I use. What do you use?
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about this before. Like, we switched everything over as far as our household cleaners a long time ago, and it's all 7th generation kind of sprays. So and I'd have to go back and regrade it to make sure that they didn't change anything. But
I'm still here. I want to go grab one more thing.
Okay, yeah. But most recently, I actually started I wanted to clean my rugs. So I got a steam cleaner from Costco that was really cool. And it came with a very toxic substance. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to put toxins on my rug that my kids are going to roll around on. So I did apple cider vinegar and lemon, and that worked amazing. So then I started thinking, where else in my house could I do that? So I'm now doing on the tile in the shower, apple cider vinegar, lemon, and baking soda. And that is amazing. It's so simple and so much cheaper.
Well, and a great thing for carpet. So I have like a shag rug because my Dane that had cancer, we amputated her leg to prolong her life. And living in a hardwood house, she had no traction. So our like shag carpet rug kind of thing stinks like terribly. But we would use baking soda, and I would add essential oils to it. So you just add essential oils to the baking soda, whatever smell you like. I like pine typically, or lemons kind of thing. And you just let it sit. So you sprinkle it on your rug, you let it sit for an hour or two, and then you vacuum it up, and it smells amazing, like brand new, clean, and there's no chemicals in it.
That's interesting. I'll have to do that because I'm such a fan of essential oils right now. I'm like, we have it going in our office. I put it on every day. So I love that idea of using it in the carpet cleaner. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and it does a great job. Just make sure that your baking soda is aluminum free, and you're good to go. And it's so simple. Like, it's super cheap to do it that way too.
The other thing about the baking soda I like is it creates a little friction. So like anything that you're trying to get up, it just really makes it's a really nice additive to a cleaning material.
Well, it's great for, like cookie sheets too, when it gets that like sticky film on it.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Make like a little paste and let it sit with a little bit of vinegar, and you can add lemon, and it takes it right up.
Oh my gosh, I'm like taking notes because I have a baking sheet that I got to do that with. Okay, awesome.
I have to do that with one of mine. I don't know that I'll necessarily get the turmeric and curry stain out of it, but hey.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, you might be getting a little extra turmeric each time. You never know. So, okay. So now, and this is in no particular order that we're going through these. I mean, Dr. Caitlin and I we are just free thinking, like what is in our environment. So let's move to makeup. What are your thoughts on makeup?
So makeup is so toxic. And I tell my women all the time, men better appreciate that most women put almost 400 chemicals on their face just to look good for them as well as ourselves. It makes us feel good. But there's a lot of crappy makeup out there, like L'Oreal and Maybelline and, all of those things. Sorry, guys. You're loading yourself up with lead and mercury and aluminum and all sorts of stuff. And your skin is your biggest organ. Guess what you're doing? Sucking it in. So same thing with nail polish. Do you know how bad nail polish is?
I know. I stopped going. It makes me sad, but I stopped going because I just didn't want that sitting on there. Same thing with hair. Like I used to dye my hair. Thank goodness I don't have a lot of gray. But I used to dye my hair and then I was like, no, I know there's natural hair products out there, but I just was like, forget it. It's, I'd rather be alive and healthy and thriving than be, work on the outside beauty of me. Like, I feel like there's other ways you can do it. You don't have to be so reliant on the chemicals.
Well, and the other thing too, if you fix the inside, the outside does better.
Yeah.
So people ask me all the time, what foundation do you use? I don't use foundation. I don't touch the stuff. I feel icky when I have it on. So if I'm doing like a photo shoot for work, or if I'm doing a commercial and they have to put that that gross cakey makeup on so you don't look washed out on TV.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I feel terrible. I feel absolutely terrible, and I feel so made up. I should actually post a picture of what I look like made up and what I actually look like, because it's ridiculous. But what type of makeup? So women are going to wear makeup. They always are. I wear makeup. I don't wear tons, but I wear makeup. What makeup do you use, and what do you recommend?
Well, so we switched over to osmosis. That's what, in my office, we do a bulk order, and, it's all women in here, and we just basically once a month, what does everybody need? And I really like the osmosis stuff. Have you used it?
So I've used them at all of the seminars that they've been at, and I just haven't, I'm a procrastinator. I just haven't put an order in.
Yeah, and we just, because we do it as a group, it's easy. Like, but I'm not married to it. I mean, there's other ones like, before that, I was going to Whole Foods and getting the Bare Minerals and
Mineral Fusion, pretty good.
Yeah, Mineral Fusion. And then I had a friend who was Beauty Counter rep, and that's great too. So there's a lot of really good ones. What I think is important is that there are some keywords like people will tell me, I went and got a facial the other day, and the woman, I asked her what kind of products she was using, and she said all of our products have to follow European standards. So European standards for skincare products are much more stringent than American. And that is like a code word for these are less toxic, higher quality. Have you heard that before?
I have, and I am bad. I don't usually go for facials and things like that.
I'm 48. I'm 48. It's time. You got some time.
The thing is I don't make time for that. I probably should, because it would probably make me feel really good. But I agree, and I think part of the reason that I don't do those kinds of things like the facials and the chemical peels and all that is I don't know what's in that, and I just don't like putting something on me when I'm not entirely certain how it's going to affect me internally, hormone-wise.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great tip is make sure that it's like European grade, because if it's not, I wouldn't even think about doing that then at that point.
Right. Yeah. And I think that I've walked the path of cancer with so many patients, and it's so frustrating when you get a bad diagnosis and you realize that something like the makeup you've been putting on every single day has been throwing your estrogen levels off, causing you to be estrogen dominant, and now you have cancer. Like, oh, like, oh, it's so frustrating, and it's such a simple fix, and there's so many good solutions out there. So I think that's if there's any takeaway I want from this particular episode is that the things you're doing daily, like putting makeup on, those are you gotta get those right. You gotta get those toxins under control. Otherwise, the bioaccumulation is what will destroy your health.
Yep. And you said it, people don't really think of it that way, right? So think of how many times you're putting something on you other than your clothes, which, by the way, your clothes are washed in your laundry detergent.
Yep.
Dried with the dryer sheet. And we'll talk about my laundry detergent and how I just about lost it last week when I looked into it more. But you got to be really careful and really selective as to what it is that you choose to expose yourself to on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So the osmosis line, great. Mineral fusion is great. Pure is another really good one.
Yeah.
Isn't there one called 100% juice or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. But you know what? I think you and I talked about this last time. The two apps that I think are really helpful for people is Think Dirty, and then there's the cosmetics, the Safe Cosmetics Coalition, Skin Deep.
Oh, that's a good one. I use two apps for like my cleaners and things like that, because sometimes it's on one but not another. So the Think Dirty, and then it's Healthy Living.
See, there's Skin Deep. I think what they did with that one is they've combined, it's the EWG, and I think they combined food and beauty products into all one. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then this is the Think Dirty one. Let's see what it looks like, though. It's that black app.
Yeah.
Right?
So now, what I love about the Think Dirty one is it gives me a score, but then it gives me 3 readings. It tells me, is it going to cause reproductive health? Is it carcinogenic, or is it an allergen? And sometimes I'll get a really high score on my favorite product, but it's an allergen. So I'm like, I'm not worried about, that for me. So I don't have as much of a challenge doing it. So I like it breaks it down like that.
So I just scanned my
body
wash.
Perfect.
So I use Dr. Bronner's. This one's the peppermint one, and it comes back as a 1. So awesome. That's really good. Like, that's really low. And it doesn't really give me anything else for that.
Show it to me again. I'll show you, because there's nothing. The bars are so little.
So on here you'll see the 3. It says, carcinogenic, developmental and reproductive toxicity, allergies, and immunotoxins. And so there's nothing that lights up there. But let me show you my laundry detergent that I thought was being so good, all plant derived, not tested on animals. It's a 9.
Wow. And it's under reproductive.
I know. I just about died when I saw that. I was like, what the heck? So this is really good. It gives you a great idea of what the heck is going on. So this brand, it's all plant derived. It's all like essential oils and you name it, but it comes back not good for you. So this is getting tossed. Wow. And I won't be using that anymore. So I got to go to the store today and go through with my little app scanning a whole bunch of laundry detergent.
Yeah, and it takes some time. I think that's the one thing I would say is when you first are scanning stuff, you'll spend some time at the store. But then once you find your stuff, you won't do it as much anymore. But it's definitely
Yep. And you gotta, so what I guess the big thing that I want to say is you just got to be careful, because even 7th generation, so I grabbed one of the like dishwashing detergents and it comes back at a 5.
Oh, so let's see why. Allergens.
So, allergens.
Yeah,
so,
interesting.
Depending on what your allergies are, what you're suffering with or from, right? You just got to be careful. So just like you said, Dr. Mindy, if allergens really aren't a big issue for you, you're not suffering with like eczema, hives, you don't have that histamine reaction, things like that, maybe that's not going to be as problematic for you. But you just got to figure out what is it that you're willing to deal with versus not deal with. So I love that app because it makes it so much easier. I don't have to I still read the ingredients, don't get me wrong, but I don't have to like Google like, what is this?
Well, the ingredients on some of these household products, who knows what they are? They're chemicals, so it's hard to tell what kind of chemicals. So yeah, right. Totally agree.
But
so next one is hair products. So what are your thoughts on hair products?
Hair products are hard. And I thought that I was doing an amazing job with my hair products. So Andalou wasn't bad. It comes back at about a 3. Okay. So it's not terrible. But it's obviously not as good as my 1.
Right.
And then I heard, amazing things about Accrue. And some of them come back as like a 1, some come back as a 3. So I think it just depends on what it is that you're getting. Are you getting the volumizer? Are you getting the ultra hydrating? Are you getting the clarifying?
Yeah.
So these.
Have you tried Giovanni? That's one of my favorite. I get it at Whole Foods.
I have, and guess what? So that hair product that Niles was using that came back at.
Yeah, so they're all, I have scanned each one, and for that exact thing you're talking about, depending on what it's trying to do.
Right, you just got to scan them.
Yeah, so we use the shampoo. My favorite is the shampoo and conditioner that's a cucumber. It's in a green bottle. But they're the same shampoo, just whatever they were trying to do, volumize or replenish, then the toxic load changed.
Right, yeah. And I'm like you, I don't dye my hair, it's too much work. I don't have the time to make an appointment to go in and get it redone all the time. And there's nothing drives me personally more crazy on me when, like, if I were to have like roots or whatever, like I'd have to go get it touched so often that it wouldn't be worth it for me. But what I was going to say about that is the shampoo specific for like color treated hair, when I've scanned them, have typically come back more toxic than their counterparts. So I don't know why, but that's something that you all should just be aware of and scan to see what it comes back as. But I like the Accrue.
I've like taught my daughter how to scan products, and it's like, it's actually kind of gamifies it. It's sort of fun.
It is. And then, just rescan, because sometimes they change their, their ingredients, their formula. And so what was fine might not always be fine. So, I just scan it like real fast and be like, oh, yep, still good. Or, oh crap, what happened here? And then I'll spend more time trying to figure out another option or another solution.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, in my town, there's a lot of organic hair salons popping up. Where you can go and get your hair colored with an organic. I know, and they're packed. I don't know why more people don't figure this out, that people want this, but they're packed. So I do know, I've got a lot of friends that are graying and they don't want to be gray. And so they're kind of stuck with that hard dilemma of what to do.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would do, is I would go to an organic salon.
Absolutely. Or there's other options, like you can use like hennas, from what I've been told, are far less toxic for using like black teas and things like that, if you just want to give yourself a little change in color. I don't know it would cover grays, but there's always options. You just got to look and see what's available to you.
Well, that's the beauty of being a woman, right? I mean, we have, like, especially when it comes to our hair, there's a lot of different things you can do. So yeah, totally agree. Okay, speaking of being a woman, this is an interesting one, hygiene. So I'm not gonna lie, for years I was doing tampons, and I was like, okay, I just kind of didn't think about the long-term effects of it. I did start to use the natural ones at Whole Foods, but then every once in a while, if I had to go grab a Tampax or something, I would. And then I read a study where they talked about think about suppositories. Like when they do vaginal suppositories, they put medicine up into the vaginal area because it's so porous in there that it can pull in anything that sits inside of there. And I was like, holy crap, my tampon is chlorinated if you don't get the unchlorinated ones.
Yes.
And that freaked me out. And then at that point I stopped and I switched to pads, but you know what is a game changer for me is the Diva Cup.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's a total game changer. I'm like, my periods are winding down and I'm like, God, I wish I had known about this 20 years ago. It's such a game changer.
So I agree completely. I think it's a phenomenal way to go about it. You got to be careful though, because other companies are coming up with similar products, right, other than the Diva Cup. And so you just got to be careful where the product's coming from and what it's being made out of. So I would be very cautious about buying a cheaper version of it. Yep, that comes out of China or something like that, because who knows what it's made out of. And if it's plastics and chemicals, that's actually worse than using an organic, unbleached tampon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and that's true. I mean, that's natural and unbleached. The Diva Cup says BPA free on it, on the outside. Yeah. So, yeah. But that's good to know. I didn't know there were competitor companies to the Diva Cup.
Yeah, there are. And so some of them come out of China. So, instead of spending $35 on a cup, you can get it for free, just pay shipping and handling, which is $15. You know what I mean? So $15 versus $35, where I know what I'm getting, I'm not messing with it. Plus it's a one-time fee, right? Like you reuse it. So it actually saves you a ton of money instead of spending $6 for 20 tampons that you go through, 1.5 every 2 months kind of thing, or whatever it is. So huge money saver too.
Yeah. But I cannot emphasize enough the putting a chlorinated tampon. You're better off using a pad, but putting a chlorinated tampon inside the vagina is no bueno. Like that, over year after year after year, you're going to have some serious chemical toxicity.
And you got to be careful about the pads too, because if you think about it, if the pads aren't chlorine free and unbleached and organic, what you're doing is when they get moist, they off gas. So anytime that the pad absorbs, not even, the discharge of the blood, but if it, just gets a little bit moist because guess what, ladies, it gets warm there. It does. You're off gassing and then you're reabsorbing all that stuff. So it's really important, really, like if you're going to make one change with anything that we're saying, start with your feminine hygiene products. Start there. But a great alternative, I just want to say, other than buying, like 7th generation or Italy, Target has these organic chlorine-free pads made from Italy that are super affordable, like 42 pads for less than $6.
Wow.
They make a tampon too. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to go organic, chlorine-free. But another great alternative is it's Charlie Banana. So this company also makes diapers, like cloth diapers for babies. And it's organic. They're reusable. So they come like this. Okay. You open them up. It's 100% organic cotton, and then you just clip it under your underwear, and then you throw it in the wash after, and easy peasy.
It's just like cloth diapers.
Yeah, they don't really stain. Yeah, and they're actually really comfortable. So I use...
Where'd you get it?
Thrive Market.
Yes. Okay.
But I really like these, especially when you're at home, like obviously if you're traveling and you're menstruating, okay, probably not, right? But it's a great option
It's
for,
reusable, good for the environment too.
yes. So when I saw this, I dove in, and it's actually very reasonable. I think I paid, I don't know, let's say $15. I don't think I paid $15, but you get 3 of them, and you get a little packet thingy to put it in once you've used it, and then you throw it in the wash with whatever, and it all comes out, and it's awesome.
That's awesome. Okay, now you've taught me 3 things. I love it. I'm enjoying this as much as it's fun to share. And I agree with you. It can be overwhelming. A lot of people really get stuck with like, oh my God. Like as we sit and coach people, I'm sure you get this where it's like just getting people to be aware that they've got chemicals in their food is such a huge step that you could listen to a show like this and go, oh my God, now I have to think about all the chemicals in my house. Yeah. And I do think it's just a process. And I love what you're saying, like start with your hygiene. I think that's important. That's probably the most important one, no doubt. So I love it. And then the other thing you said that was interesting is check out Target and Walmart. They are trying to compete with Whole Foods. And so they are carrying more and more natural products at better prices. And Costco too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I buy a lot of, so I'm like you, if I have a farmer's market that I can go to, buy local, organic, fresh, like pick the day before, 100% do it, hands down. But when I don't have that option, because living, north of you, we don't get, vegetables all year round.
You don't have fresh strawberries all the time?
No, but that's okay. That's okay. But I will go to Costco and I'll buy, organic vegetables from Costco. I make my dog's food now, and they get organic, my dog's food now, organic vegetables from Costco. So, awesome. It's a great money saver. You're still getting organic. There's so many different ways that you can save on and live on a budget, but still do it healthy.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Well, and if you do the Charlie Banana thing and the Diva cup, you're like, it's all reusable. So that's really interesting. Yeah. So, okay, next thing. So that's hygiene. The next thing is indoor, and I'm calling it indoor air. And in that, I'm going to say mold. So
what do you do for indoor air?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. I live in an old house, and I haven't had it tested yet. So I probably should. Have you done the ERMI test in your home?
I haven't, because we rent right now. So we're only 2 years into Seattle, Seattle area. And the market here is crazy, and I honestly don't know where I want to live yet. So we're renting, and we also live in an old house. So I'll give some tips as to what I do when you're renting, that you can make sure your environment is still clean as you possibly can be, without spending the thousands of dollars on, air purifiers and water systems and things like that.
Yeah, so we have plants. We have have you gone to the NASA website? It has plants that actually start to hook onto the chemicals in your house. And have you seen that?
No,
there's
look at.
Yeah, there's plants. There are plants that will purify your air and draw out the toxins from the air. And it's NASA is the one that put it out. And you just type in indoor air purifying plants and then put NASA, and they have a list of about 10 different plants. So we've been slowly putting plants everywhere. We live in California, so I open the doors all the time to try to get fresh air in and out. But that's pretty much what we've done. And one of the categories we're going to talk about is furniture. When we bring new furniture in, we actually let it sit outside so there's no outgassing. So we try to do things like that, but the plants is a really easy one.
That's a great idea. I've never done that, and I'm actually going to go look at that later today and see what are some of the plants that I can get for, but also for the office.
Yeah, those spidery ones that kind of have they come down and then they've got a little ball on the end. I think they're maybe called a spider plant. They're one of them. So, yeah, go look at it.
I will. I have a hard time with plants in the Pacific Northwest. I got huge trees all around me, so I don't have a whole lot of direct sunlight. So I need things that need low sunlight to survive here.
Okay. I'm sure you can find something.
I'm sure I can. So what do you do then for, so great, when you said, leave your furniture, mattresses, couches, things like that outside, let them off gas, so let them breathe. How long do you let them sit outside for before you bring them in?
Well, in a perfect world, 24 hours, and I kind of do a little sniff test. Do I smell it still? And if it's going to rain, I mean, by you, that's a little less practical. It depends on the time of the year, those kind of things. So usually about 24 hours, I'll just put it out and just let it. And every couch I've bought 3 of them in the last 5 years, and mattresses smell horrible. There is something and then the other thing I do during that time is I take more bind and more Cyto. And so, Cyto's easy to get in, even though my kids are teens, I'll just tell them like, hey guys, I put a little bottle of Cyto Detox out, and I'll say, hey, we just got a new living room couch. You guys are sitting on it. I'm sure you can smell it. Just every time you walk past, put a couple drops of Cyto in your mouth.
Yep. That's a great, way to try and balance it out. And Cyto, for those of you that don't know, so Cyto and bind, they go in and they bind toxins in your body, and they hold on to them really, really tight so that you excrete them. So they're not a loose binder like Corella and some of the other like
cilantro.
Yeah, cilantro. Those will go and stir things up, but they don't necessarily mean that your body can eliminate them. They usually release them elsewhere. So the 3 of us, so Dr. Mindy, Dr. Sonia, and I love Cyto and bind. I always have a stock in my house, and I always bring it when I travel because I never know what type of hotel room I'm going to be in or anything.
Yeah.
So.
And bind is like, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but bind is my favorite anti-hangover resource or tool. Like I was in Europe a bunch last summer, and you go out, you're out with friends, you drink a little too much, come home, boop, couple bind, you wake up, I'm feeling amazing the next day.
My sister, if she listens to this, is probably going to kill me, but she was doing the Whole30 for all of January, and she usually eats pretty clean. She's grain-free, dairy-free usually because she has a really bad reaction to it. But she had one of her really good friends' bachelorette parties Saturday night, and I was like, ask Dad if he has any bind left. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, they're little black pills. You want a couple of them. Trust me. She forgot and didn't feel so great Sunday morning. She's like,